Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into the world of ideation, specifically how it works in engineering.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, we'll be exploring how engineers come up with all those amazing solutions, and who knows, maybe we'll all pick up a trick or two for our own brainstorming sessions.
Definitely. Everyone can benefit from a little ideation boost.
Our main source today is this Design Thinking Deep Dive Unit 3 Ideation Techniques document. Looks like it was put together for engineering students, so I'm hoping it's got some really practical advice.
Practicality is key, especially in engineering.
Exactly. So let's get started. What exactly is ideation?
Well, it's kind of more than just, like coming up with ideas. It's more of a structured process.
Oh, okay. So there's a method to the madness.
You can say that. It's about generating ideas, but then also developing those ideas and refining them until you've got actual workable solutions.
Ah, so it's not just about the initial spark, it's about nurturing that spark into a full-fledged solution.
Right. And this is where engineers sometimes trip up a bit.
Really? Why is that?
Well, they're so good at solving problems that they sometimes um, jump the gun.
They rush to the solution.
Yeah, exactly. They want to fix things right away, which
Right.
is great. But ideation is about taking a step back first, exploring all the options before zeroing in on one solution.
I see. So it's about broadening their perspective before narrowing it down. Makes sense.
Right. It's all about innovation, thinking outside the box. And speaking of innovation, did you know Gmail actually started as a side project?
Really?
Yeah, just from internal brainstorming sessions at Google.
Wow. That's crazy to think that such a huge, widely used tool came from a simple brainstorming session.
Exactly. It just goes to show how powerful a good ideation session can be.
It's like a breeding ground for innovation. Speaking of which, let's talk brainstorming. Everyone's heard of it, but what are the rules?
Rules. Oh, yeah, there are definitely some key rules that make brainstorming truly effective, especially for engineering projects.
Okay, lay 'em on me.
All right, first up, no judgment.
Like no idea is a bad idea.
Exactly. Every idea is welcome, even the wild ones. Then you want to focus on quantity, not quality, at least at first.
So just get as many ideas out there as possible.
Exactly. You want a ton of ideas to work with, even if some seem out there.
The more, the merrier, right?
Right. And then you can build on each other's ideas. That's where the magic happens.
Synergy.
Exactly. And finally, don't be afraid to let those wild ideas flow.
Embrace the crazy, huh?
Exactly. Sometimes the craziest ideas end up being the most innovative ones.
So it's all about creating an environment where people feel comfortable sharing, even if their ideas seem a little out there, like a judgment-free zone.
Exactly.
This kind of reminds me of Airbnb, actually.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, the founders, they wanted to help people find affordable places to stay.
Right.
And they could have just said, okay, let's build more hotels, but they didn't.
They thought outside the hotel box.
Exactly. They brainstormed, threw out all sorts of ideas, and eventually landed on this peer-to-peer rental model. I bet some of those ideas were pretty wild at first.
I bet.
But that willingness to go beyond the obvious is what led them to disrupt an entire industry.
It's amazing what can happen when you embrace those wild ideas, right?
Totally. But, okay, say you've got all these amazing ideas after a brainstorming session. It can be kind of chaotic.
Oh, absolutely. Especially with complex engineering projects.
Right. So how do you make sense of it all?
That's where mind mapping comes in.
Mind mapping. Okay, tell me more.
Well, think of it like a visual roadmap for all your ideas. It helps organize everything, especially when you're dealing with, complex systems or lots of interconnected parts.
Yeah, engineering's full of that.
Exactly. And mind mapping helps you visualize all the connections. So how do you create one? Well, you start with the core problem or the central concept. That's the center of your map.
Okay, I'm picturing like a web of ideas branching out from a central point.
Yeah, exactly. So let's say you're designing a new type of bridge. Innovative bridge design would be your central theme.
Okay, got it. Then what?
Then you branch out. Maybe one branch is materials, another is structural design, another is environmental impact, whatever's relevant.
I see. So it's like a tree growing out from that central idea. But how would this look in a real engineering context?
Okay, let's say you're working on an app, a collaboration app for engineering students.
Oh, that's a cool idea.
Right. So your mind map could have engineering collaboration app in the center. Then one branch could be, say, user needs. Under that, you might list things like real-time file sharing, integrated communication tools, project management features, things engineering students would need.
Right, stuff that's specific to them.
Exactly. Then another branch could be technical challenges with things like cloud storage integration, security protocols, mobile optimization. Important stuff for an app like that.
So by laying it all out visually, you can start to see how everything connects.
Exactly. You can spot potential problems and start thinking about solutions.
Wow, I can already see how helpful that would be. It's like a blueprint for your project, but for ideas.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, so we've brainstormed to generate ideas and mind map to organize them. Now what? How do we go from this giant pile of possibilities to choosing the best solutions? What's the next step?
Well, that's where we shift gears and start thinking about divergent and convergent thinking.
Divergent and convergent thinking. Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, you can think of divergent thinking like the expanding phase, like just exploring every possibility you can think of.
Okay, so it's about like pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Exactly. Even if those possibilities seem unconventional, like out there.
And are there like specific techniques that can help with that? Especially in engineering, I mean.
Oh, absolutely. There are a bunch of cool techniques you can use, like random word association, where you connect random words to the problem you're trying to solve.
Huh, interesting.
It helps spark those unexpected ideas, the ones you wouldn't normally think of.
I like it. And what about that reverse brainstorming thing I've heard of?
Ah, yes. Reverse brainstorming. That's a good one. It's where you try to actually make the problem worse instead of better.
Wait, really? Make it worse?
Yeah. Sounds kind of counterintuitive, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
But it can actually help you see things from a completely different angle. And sometimes that can highlight solutions you wouldn't have considered otherwise.
That's so cool. It's like you're intentionally trying to break free from those like, normal patterns of thinking.
Exactly.
It makes me think about the development of 3D printing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like in the beginning, it was mostly used for prototypes and models.
Right, right.
But then someone was probably like, wait a minute, what if we could print entire buildings?
That's a great example.
It must sounded crazy at first, but now look at us. We've got 3D printed houses, bridges, even entire communities popping up.
That's divergent thinking in action.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
It all starts with that what if question. That's the core of divergent thinking, you know. And in engineering, you're always pushing the boundaries of what's possible, so that kind of thinking is essential.
Totally. Okay, so we've diverged, explored all sorts of wild ideas, and now we've got this mountain of possibilities.
Right, lots to work with.
But at some point, we have to, make some decisions.
We do.
How do we actually go from this expansive divergent phase to actually choosing the best solutions? What's next?
That's where convergent thinking comes in. It's like the other side of the coin.
Okay, so if divergent thinking is about expanding, then convergent thinking is about
refining. It's about narrowing down, focusing, and selecting the most promising ideas from that big pool of possibilities.
So less is more now.
Kinda, yeah. We start asking those tough questions, is this feasible? Can we actually build this? Does it align with our goals?
It's like putting on those engineer hats again and really analyzing everything.
Exactly. And we use techniques like dot voting, where the team votes on their favorite ideas.
Right.
Or we create an effort impact matrix to prioritize solutions based on their potential impact and, the resources it'll take.
It's about getting down to business.
Exactly. A good example of this is the development of self-driving cars.
Oh, yeah. Good one.
There were so many different approaches and ideas at first, a real divergent explosion of possibilities.
Right.
But over time, through testing, analysis, and refinement, certain technologies and approaches just emerged as the most promising.
And now we're seeing self-driving cars out on the roads being tested and implemented. It's pretty wild.
It is. And that's convergent thinking, guiding those initial sparks toward a tangible reality.
I love it. Okay, so we've covered brainstorming, mind mapping, divergent thinking, convergent thinking. It's clear that ideation is a process with specific techniques. But it's not just about memorizing steps, right? What are some of the common pitfalls people stumble into during this whole ideation thing?
Well, one of the biggest mistakes is rushing to judgment, like dismissing ideas too early on.
Especially those out there ones.
Exactly. Because even if they seem impractical or a bit wacky at first, you never know.
So it's about silencing that inner critic for a bit.
Exactly. Another trap is getting fixated on the first good idea that comes along, you know?
Oh, I got that feeling.
It's easy to lash on to that initial spark and kind of close yourself off to other possibilities.
Yeah, you think you've got it figured out.
But it's important to keep exploring. Even if you think you found a fantastic solution, there might be an even better one just waiting to be discovered.
So it's like you need to train yourself to be comfortable with that uncertainty. resist that urge to settle.
You got it. And another thing to watch out for is groupthink. It's easy to get swept up in the group's energy and just start conforming to the dominant opinion.
Right, right.
But for ideation to really work, you need those diverse perspectives and a willingness to challenge assumptions, even if it means disagreeing with everyone
It's
else.
like that saying, the nail that sticks out gets hammered down.
Huh, yeah.
Yeah.
But in ideation, we want those nails to stick out. We need those unique perspectives.
I like that. Okay, so we've got rushing to judgment, getting fixated on the first good idea, and groupthink. Anything else?
One more, and it's a big one. Not clearly defining the problem you're trying to solve.
Seems kind of obvious, though, right?
It does. But you'd be surprised how often teams jump into brainstorming without a shared understanding of the challenge. You know,
It's like setting off on a road trip without knowing where you're going.
that's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
You might end up somewhere, but it's probably not where you wanted to be.
Right, right. So before you start generating ideas, you got to take the time to define the problem. What are you trying to achieve? What are the constraints? Who are you designing this for?
Exactly. The more clarity you have up front, the more focused and effective your ideation process will be.
It's all about laying that solid foundation before you let those creative sparks fly. This has been so insightful. I feel like I'm already looking at problem solving in a whole new way.
That's great to hear. But we're not done yet. In the final part, we'll explore how to build a culture where ideation can truly thrive. Because it's not enough to just know the techniques you need, the right environment to make those ideas flourish.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground, brainstorming, mind mapping, all those thinking techniques. But how do you actually create a culture where ideation thrives? Like, how do you build that environment where innovation just happens?
That's a great question. It's about going beyond just the mechanics and really fostering an environment that values creativity, experimentation, and even a little bit of risk-taking.
Okay, but how do you do that? How do you make ideation part of the DNA of a team or a company?
Well, one of the most important things is psychological safety. People need to feel comfortable sharing their ideas, even the ones that might seem a little out there.
So no judgment, right? Like we talked about with brainstorming.
Exactly. No judgment, no fear of being ridiculed. People need to know it's okay to be wrong sometimes, that it's all part of the process.
It's like creating a safe space for creativity to flourish.
Exactly. And a big part of that is leadership. Leaders need to set the tone. They need to actively encourage diverse perspectives, listen to different viewpoints, and be open to ideas that might seem unusual at first.
It's like they have to walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
Right. It's about creating a culture where it's okay to experiment, maybe even fail, as long as you learn from it. And sometimes it's the little things too. Like imagine a team leader saying, "Hey, give me your wildest ideas, even if they sound crazy."
That's a powerful message. It's like giving people permission to be creative.
Exactly. You're telling them it's okay to push the boundaries. And that ties into what we were talking about earlier with embracing bad ideas during brainstorming.
Oh, right, because when you encourage bad ideas, you're basically saying that exploration is more important than always being right.
Exactly. You're creating a space where mistakes are seen as learning opportunities, not failures.
It's a subtle shift in mindset, but it
Wow.
can make a huge difference.
Absolutely. And when people feel like they can take risks without being penalized, they're much more likely to come up with those truly innovative solutions.
It's like that old saying, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Okay, so we've got psychological safety, embracing bad ideas. What else is essential for building this ideation culture?
Dedicated time and resources are crucial. You can't expect people to be innovative if you don't give them the space to do it. This means actually blocking out time for brainstorming sessions, maybe setting up a dedicated area for collaboration, provided the tools and support they need.
It's about making ideation a priority, not just an afterthought.
Right. But we also have to remember that sometimes the best ideas come when you least expect them.
Yeah, like those aha moments that seem to come out of nowhere. How do you encourage that kind of spontaneous creativity?
It's about encouraging a culture of continuous ideation, where people feel comfortable sharing their thoughts and ideas organically, not just during those formal brainstorming sessions.
So it's about making ideation part of the everyday workflow. It's always there simmering in the background.
Exactly. You want people to feel like they can contribute their ideas anytime, anywhere.
As we're talking about this, I keep thinking back to those examples we discussed earlier, like Gmail and Airbnb. Those weren't just the result of one person's brilliant idea,
Yeah.
right? They came from a culture that embraced innovation. a culture where people felt empowered to share their ideas and take risks.
Exactly. And that's what we can learn from those companies.
Yeah.
They understood that innovation is a team sport. They created spaces where people from different backgrounds and departments could come together, share their perspectives, and build on each other's ideas.
It's about creating a positive feedback loop where creativity is encouraged, recognized, and rewarded.
That's how you build a culture where truly innovative ideas can flourish.
This deep dive has been so insightful. We've gone from the nitty-gritty of specific ideation techniques to this bigger picture of creating a culture where innovation is embedded in everything you do.
It's been great. I hope everyone listening feels inspired to take what they've learned and start applying it in their own lives and work.
Me too. So, to wrap things up, what's the one key takeaway you want listeners to remember?
Ideation is a skill, and like any skill, it can be developed. It's about being curious, questioning assumptions, and not being afraid to try new things, even if they seem a little crazy at first. Remember, the best ideas often come from the most unexpected places.
That's a great note to end on. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. And to all our listeners out there, keep those creative sparks flying. We'll see you next time.